I wanted to share with you a model of trusteeship that is 180 degrees on the opposite side of what you have probably been familiar with. Most likely, you have heard this distinction for trustees and your executive from the difference between governance and operations. Governance is the trustees' domain. Operations is the president's domain. You put your nose in, you keep your hands out. You're not actually doing things. This is kind of the model that most of us look at, but it causes a lot of problems. And my biggest concern is that it wrongly assigns the kinds of work that is now done by the executive, by the trustees, and by the supporting staff. We have moved into a leadership model where a president is laser focused on mission, vision, strategy. That's what they do. They are champions. They are relentlessly out there driving the focus of the university forward. You think of somebody like Steve Jobs, known for being laser focused. Jim Barksdale, the former CEO of Netscape, said, make sure that there is the one thing, and make damn sure that the one thing is indeed the one thing. That is what the executive does, always. And it's a relentless pursuit. Every venue, every situation, talking about strategy, communicating about strategy, talking about what the university's priorities are. That is the job. Whether it's to internal constituents, outside constituents, it is what is this entity, organization about? How do we define it? And how do we move it forward? That's the job of the presidents. Well, those words, mission, vision, and strategy, are the very same words that primarily defines what governance is. And so you can see that leaders, executives, presidents, almost across the board now have adopted that governance as leadership approach. Next question is though, what happens to operations? Operations generally in an institution are delegated downward to an executive officer or a set of executive officers. Provost and vice president for finance and administration are often the two most common kind of groupings. One over the managing the academic side of things, one managing the administrative side of things. And I use that word managing because that is where operations occurs. Now, of course, those two positions are guided, reporting to, evaluated by the president, but the execution of the strategy is delegated downward through the organization, from the provost to the deans, from the vice president of finance or administration, or other vice president level entities. I personally think it's really good to look at the model of actually having a single person as the XO. Where there is that very clear distinction. This is where the activity happens, and this is where leadership happens. Where does that leave trustees? Trustees were known for governance, and I'm going to suggest that that the governance part of the trustee's job is, of course, still there. But I'm going to suggest there's three broader roles or sub-goals there that we can look at. One is fiduciary responsibility. Is the university behaving ethically, legally? Is it doing the things that need to be done? Is everything accounted for? Is the university meeting its charter? That aspect of trusteeship, that fiduciary aspect, is critical. Flip side of being critical, though, is it's really dull. No one gets excited about, oh, I oversaw an audit report that was created by the internal audit team and then approved and evaluated by the external audit team. And now as a trustee, after everyone else has looked at it, I'm going to look at that as well. That process is necessary. It's critical. It also is not very interesting. The vast majority, and this is good news, the vast majority of problems at a university do not come up at that very end when the trustee is providing that fiduciary oversight. It comes up much, much sooner. There are mechanisms for that. Now, of course, there are cases where the trustee has made a critical intervention, but that doesn't happen all the time. That is not the most interesting part about being a trustee. The oversight part on what I call the Uber manager. The Uber manager is providing oversight of the president's performance. So while they're out there, the president is driving the mission. How good of a job are they doing? How good are their communication skills? How good is their outreach? How consistent? How are they doing at that job? That oversight is critical and interesting. It's something that a trustee can do every single time they have contact with the university or in particular the president. I would also suggest that, and many boards don't do this and don't have this model, that oversight of the executive officer team is critical for trustees to be involved in that process as well. How are the operations doing? Now, still, you want to have this direct line to the president, and you don't have trustees. You don't want to have trustees jumping over that line. But a collaboration between the president and the trustees, or a subcommittee of trustees, evaluating the manager, the XO's positioning, provost positioning, the VPFA's activity, I think is really important, is often missing from trustee work. Perhaps the most interesting aspect of trustee work and most meaningful is what I call the generative aspect. This is where you're applying creative thinking and divergent thinking, and that you're what I call trusteeship by walking around. Oftentimes, trustees don't know what to do themselves, how they can contribute. Getting trustees involved in meaningful oversight work, in meaningful data gathering about the institution is really critical and a wonderful way to provide meaningful and purposeful work for the trustees. The trustee is in a unique situation. They are representing the larger society of stakeholders, particularly, let's say, in a public institution. And they are the representatives they need and they are charged with, not assuming what the institution should be and act and perform. They are charged with going out there and seeing with their own eyes. You cannot delegate this task, and it often gets delegated. Go out there, talk to students, talk to faculty, talk to administrators, talk to alumni. Be engaged in gathering data with your own eyes. This is something that you cannot delegate. You're charged as a trustee to provide that work yourself. Even though you may not be an expert in higher education, your generalized perspective is exactly what boards are created to garner. You are that every person's perspective, and you need to go out and look for it and interact with that way. And I think you'll find that doing so is a lot better than trying to just listen to reports after reports and trying to figure out, should you be doing the provost job, the president's job, how does it all work? Here's a framework that you can pull it all together. Your job of this oversight, data-driven oversight is what I'm going to call it. It's sort of like the police song, Every Breath You Take. I'll be watching you. I'll be gathering. I'll be watching what you're doing, and I'm watching what the community's doing. And I'm gathering that information, and I'm bringing it together. That synthesis, that analysis and synthesis combination is what trusteeship is all about. And I guarantee if you take that perspective, you'll have a positive, value-added experience to your institution. You'll have a lot more fun. It won't be just as dull and boring as just doing the fiduciary kinds of things, and your institution will indeed benefit. So I hope you embrace this model. I know you have some questions. Put them in the comments section, or you can send them directly to me at meaningfulgovernance.org website. Hope this helps.